Indeed.
Indeed, we are back, and we're back with part 3. Well, it's the third show in this series.
Yeah, the third show in this series, yeah.
On the Great Blockage.
Yes.
And it's almost a book title, John.
It is, but what I find in that space is letting things sit.
Yeah.
So I've now got my book that the goal is to write a book next year called Business Simple.
Right.
And my ebooks, the 4 Ps and the 5 Ds.
Wow.
So I'm letting that just cogitate, you know, turning green grass into white milk.
Well, there we go. Very nice little quote. But talking about the great blockages, and we talked in general concepts, we talked about fear. We had a lot of people leaving comments and so forth, and they're going, what do you see as the limiting factor? And you went, that's great, because that's show number 3.
Totally. Let me help you here. One of the challenges that we face when we are in business is our ego. And there's nothing wrong with our ego, except it can go wrong. And it is a limiting factor to us to actually, and it's like, I want to take this dynamic from the illustration from the book Good to Great, and there's a really key that I will touch on towards the end of the show about the opposite of ego and how to help us move through this limiting factor, because remember, the great blockage is about you and I dealing with us on the inside. And so ego is about how we think and feel about ourselves, how we perceive others to think and feel about ourselves, and how we project how we think and feel about ourselves, and what we want people to understand how we think and feel about ourselves. So all the time it's about promoting this person, and yet it kind of is a limiting factor because we do it with the wrong kind of ethos and value at the very core of it.
I was going to say, when you come to ego, I don't know about you and I don't know about the people watching, but quite often in business, I get this almost like there's 2 people inside of me. The one who says, these are all the right things, this is what the book says I should be doing. And the ego going, hold on, we're in business, we need to be doing this.
Yes.
And is this where the limiting factor is? Because rather than make these 2 things work together, we constantly have them fighting against each other.
Absolutely. When we get this wrong, we create a fight inside of us that's debilitating. And so it's really an unsettling of the equilibrium of you as a person, and yet you've seen other models and you think they're coming across as fairly egotistical, and they seem to get their own way, they seem to land on their feet, everything seems to happen for them, and the way you read it for you, because you're reading it out of your own dynamic, you're reading it out of your own ego, you're interpreting what's going on for them is ego-driven leadership. Because that's the way you drive leadership, and what we do is we project our behavior onto others and reinterpret what they do through our own behavior.
And that's why we go, geez, they're egotistical.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, totally.
Oh, goodness me, we're looking in the mirror.
Yeah, totally, we do that. And that's why we get it wrong. Because this is you, let me say this way, at your worst. And people see it, read it, know it, and understand it. And what we don't do is we don't recognize that we're living out of our ego, and it's actually impacting and affecting us, and we don't recognize it, and we don't know it's actually limiting us.
So how do people start breaking this thing apart so they do recognize it and do start removing it as a limiting factor? What do you think are some of the key elements in that?
I'm really glad that I'm able to do this kind of show and help you as a leader about you. So the fact that you are willing to continue on this journey with me, understanding that there's blockages, is a great step forward. What John is saying is challenging, confronting, is difficult, uncomfortable, but if you stay with me, that's the real part of the power of learning, is going on this journey of recognizing, I'm not sure what it is. People kind of say this about me, I'm arrogant, I'm bold, I'm courageous, but it's kind of negative connotations to that. And I'm not really sure what that's all about. And I'm saying to you, it's limiting, and it's a value set that's wrong within you. So what we're trying to do here is understand what are the values that are causing you to be like that, and reframe those values.
Oh, that's a good word.
Yes. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Totally. And this is, again, the great blockage. These shows are about you. And I'm wanting you to wrestle with you and understand this is about you. You do that little bit better and go on this journey. You'll reframe the values, and I'm going to give you a key word. Humility. Wow. It's a big word, and we think, oh, how do I ever do that? Let me tell you this, again, illustrative out of the book Good to Great. They discovered this. The good to great leaders have this as one of the two key characteristics of a good to great leader is humility. The willingness to yield power and authority for others to grow, achieve, excel, and for them to celebrate that and be comfortable in their own space, their own skin, their own world, their own values, and releasing others. So it's not a mat that you walk over, it's actually internal strength that enables you to release others to excel, while you itself, even though you are the CEO, really comfortable in your own skin and really comfortable with others doing what they do and releasing them into all their potential.
That, and I hear what you're saying, and part of me is going, wow, that's a challenge.
Yes,
so I know you work with people on this and get them through, especially with CEOs and business owners, and you work one-on-one with them.
Yes.
What do you think's the commonality that you're able to bring to the table? How do you get them just stepping up that little bit?
Yeah.
Because it's very, very challenging, this bit.
Oh, absolutely it is, because we think ego tells us success is me ruling the roost, me being the dictator, me being the general, me being the all supreme being. And we think that is the strategy that brings the kind of success we think we're being told we should do. And yet the reverse is true.
Yeah.
And that's the amazing part about it. And it's like I said just a little while ago, when you understand you need to reframe, and you're going to work on humility, the willing to yield without losing any strength, respect, position, authority. You still have all of that, but you've yielded and you're allowing others to rise and do really well and celebrating them. You're reframing that conversation in your own mind, your own thinking, your own emotions, your own value set, and you're asking yourself, no longer will I be egotistical, I'm going to work on being a person of humility. So, I don't have enough time in a show like this to give it to you all.
But one thing I will say, and this is one thing that's just popping in my head then.
Go on.
I suddenly realised why you did fear in show 2.
Yes.
Because now the fear of letting go of ego is terrifying.
Yes.
But the steps you gave in that can obviously help in this one as well.
But I want to give you a book.
Okay.
An Australian author called John Dixon has wrote a really good book, and it's called Humilitas. So it's the Italian, not the Taurus, the Italian, the Latin word.
The Latin word.
The Latin word for humility. You'll remember that. John Dixon, Australian author, Humilitas. It will really help you. It's a small book, an easy read, but very challenging, and it will help you work through the whole dynamic of what it means to move from ego to humility, from a good leader or a poor leader to a good leader to a great leader. Wow. And the transformation of that for you and for me, and I'm thinking about me, I'm thinking, oh John, you've got some work to do as well. Recognize that, allow that to happen, yield and learn and grow, and watch the difference that actually makes. And it's so much fun, so you will be helped greatly.
Well, absolutely fantastic. Well, then we've got one more show in this series, so if you've missed the other two, please go back and watch them. And John, to make sure that they get notified of the next show coming up,
please click on subscribe and go to the bell, click on that as well, because that will notify you and it'll pop up there. You can go to the hyperlink on my YouTube channel and we'll take you there, and that's what we want you to do. Thank you so much for listening to our show.